Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to Dingo Talk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week, all the way from Wisconsin Whitewater, it's the head football coach there, Jace Rindahl. Coach Rindahl is going to talk to us about the 2022 season, where he was a defense coordinator and assistant head coach. The team went 8-3, 6-1 in the conference. They made the playoffs, but losing in the first round, 33-28 to Aurora. We're going to talk a little bit about the program history. We're going to talk about his coaching philosophies, and we're going to talk about what has made Whitewater and that Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference so dominant over the last years. As I talked to him about, they finished the season out as the number 15 team in the country. But that's not my job. Is to fill you in on what we're going to do and then talk to him. So for those of you watching us on YouTube, we appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. For those of you listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or wherever else you get your podcasts from, make sure you hit the little notification button, and make sure you're following the social medias. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. The only one that's different is the Instagram page, which is dingo_talk. But without further ado, Warhawk Nation, this is Coach Rindahl. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week is the head football coach of Wisconsin Whitewater, Coach Jace Rindahl. Coach, thank you for joining us. Sorry, that took a little bit to get it out of my brain.
All good, Carlo. Appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and look forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. So we're going to do this the same way we do every week. I'm going to take you back in the time machine to your playing days, and we're going to work our way forward. So in 2005, why was Whitewater where you decided to call home?
So I had a few different options coming out of high school. I was not the strongest student, so the academic resume wasn't there for a few institutions. I'm from Cambridge, Wisconsin, which is 30 minutes away from Whitewater. My head football coach in high school was an alum of Whitewater. I went to camps growing up, so there was a little familiarity there / close to home. And, after I visited, Coach Simpson was a linebacker coach at the time. He put a lot of effort in the recruiting process, and that's probably one of the other biggest reasons why Whitewater became my choice coming out of high school.
Well, and you're coming into a Whitewater that's it's a very exciting time. 05, 06, going back to back to the championship and being the runner-up, and then in 07, getting over the hump. What was that experience like? What was it like? First, I guess, what has kept Whitewater in this kind of atmosphere? I mean, it's 18 playoff appearances, 6 titles, 51-9 in the playoffs. I mean, what has continued the success?
Well, I think whenever you look at a program and having sustained success like that, I think it starts with the people and, just support from administration, whether it's the chancellors or the athletic directors or just community members that are huge supporters and boosters for the program. Having that support to be able to have a great coaching staff structure so you can hire good coaches, which in that turn allow you to teach, mentor, and mold the student athletes. You look at the recruiting process and what University of Wisconsin-Whitewater has to offer from an academic standpoint, strong business, a lot of education, the computer science, there's a lot of different avenues that we can offer. Our location being close to Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago suburbs, there's a lot of densely populated places. And then the third piece would probably be your price tag, your tuition. Being a public institution, we're pretty comparable, if not better than a lot of the schools that we compete against.
Yeah. So walk us through what it was like, the 05 and 06 season, getting there and obviously being the runner-up, and then the 07 Stag Bowl when you guys are now the national championship. Champions? What's the feeling? What was the biggest difference, I guess, between 06 and 07?
Well, I think coming in as a freshman, 05. I'm from small town Wisconsin, Division V football. So we're just winning. And I'm a young guy. I traveled. I was on special teams and was able to play in all 15 of those games. But I was just along for the ride as a young guy. And then a lot of guys came back for the 06. So the expectations were there. We're able to continue to build and have a heck of a year that year. Coach Brezowitz ended up retiring after the 06 year, so Coach Leopold came in 07. He had his own spin on things and ran the program how he wanted to. But I think another big factor in that was redshirting got removed from Division III football after the graduating class of 03 in high school.
Okay.
So fast forward, you have 04 on top of 03 red shirts, which provided the 07 class to have 20 plus, 25 seniors maybe that year. So new reins, new leadership. Coach Leopold bringing his touch on top of a huge senior class with a pretty bitter taste in the mouth from coming up short the previous 2 years. So I think you put that all in the equation, and that's how we're able to get it done and be national champions in 2007. And
then just on a personal note for you, 08 seems to be the year that for you was really statistically a big one. You're the D3 Defensive Player of the Year. You're first team All-American. What was it about that next year in 08 that for you that kind of clicked?
Sure. So if you backtrack, my junior year, 07, I didn't really start. I was a rotationary. We had a really good linebacker room with Coach Simpson leading it. And we rotated a few guys, and I eventually became a starter by the end of the year. But I had 16 tackles in the national championship game, so it was kind of my coming out party, so to speak. So you turn around, come back the next year, defending champs. We graduated all those seniors. We ended up only having 6 seniors on our team, 3 on defense, 3 on offense. Wow. So just a bunch of young guys, but Coach Leopold's staff did a great job recruiting those 2 years, 07 and 08. And we had a lot of young guys that were able to buy in, and we were able to make it back to the championship in 08.
Now, so your senior year is 08. What is it like for you to then turn around and start coaching guys that you played with? Because you go right into 09. You're there as the running back and special team guy. What was that like, and what advice would you give to players that are looking to make that transition?
Sure. It was I'm a football guy. Obviously you're at school with the academics first. I knew I was going to get my degree. I knew I was going to finish, but those 4 years I wasn't like pushing to get 18. My GPA was fine. I was eligible, all that. But when I got done with my eligibility, I knew I was going to be a part of the game. I knew I couldn't go into a fall without football. So got the opportunity in spring ball. Then I got another opportunity during the summer camps, and Coach Leopold offered me the opportunity to coach that next year in the linebacker room. So roommates, best buds, you name it. I guess they're superior, but I think the respect was there probably because of how I treated them, as a teammate. And I don't know if that changed as a coach. I was a captain, so you had that, leadership under your belt. So I think it kind of fell into place probably for those 2 reasons right there. Now, advice to somebody that's going to do that, I think first and foremost, you got to be yourself. You got to be transparent. You can't try to be fake or put up a front and try to be like somebody else. I think you got to have humility to yourself that if you don't have the answers, that's okay. You don't try to lie or talk your way out of it. And because we are transparent as coaches, and players will recognize that. The amount of time we spend with each other. So that'd be the biggest advice. Be yourself, but understand you're not going to have all the answers, and that's okay, because the players will respect you in the long run through the course of the year when you're honest and upfront.
So when you finish out the 12 season, that coincides with you getting your master's. Why the decision to then, and I think I know the answer to it because it's moving up the collegiate ladder. Why the decision to go to South Dakota for the 2 seasons?
So that was my 8th fall going into Whitewater. So, which I loved, and we won a lot, and great experience. But sometimes I'd say, is there, what's it like out there? What else is there? Because I was really running the linebacker room. I'm under Coach Bullis and Coach Borland. Coach Brian Borland was the defensive coordinator. Coach Leopold's the head coach. So really, it was the same staff structure. I didn't really visualize myself being able to grow within that staff. But, I was pretty young at the time still. Coach Leopold thought it was a good move. There was a guy on staff out at South Dakota. And, the opportunity was there, and it kind of fit with where I was wanting to go and the things that I was trying to achieve. So, and I knew at some point I had to get away from Whitewater. So that's kind of how that shook out.
Now I got to ask you. So I talked to a couple coaches from the South. I've talked to a bunch of coaches from the East Coast here. You're our first coach that's kind of, going towards the center of the country. When I talk to these other coaches and I ask them about, the Midwest teams, teams in Minnesota, teams in Wisconsin, stuff like that, it's always a conversation about your linemen. It seems that, your skill guys are your skill guys, but your linemen seem to be just big farm bred kids. Where do you find these big boys? Like,
I guess it's in the genes up here or something, but Carlo, I had 3 high school coaches in my office today, and we were talking for about 2 hours, and one of them was a state champ this past fall in Wisconsin, and they run a wishbone buck sweep, not triple option, but more of that. And it's more of a unique breed or a unique style. You don't see that a lot anymore.
No.
But at the end of the day, right, football's about tackling and blocking. And there becomes a point, maybe it's more common up north, but, if you're playing late in the year, November, December, the weather's a factor, and you're going to have to run the ball when you need to run the ball to win games. So, going back to Coach Brezowitz and Coach Leopold, we're going to be a balanced offense, but we got to have the Hogs up front on both sides of the ball so that we can compete in November and December and be able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides when you have to pick up that first down or you have to milk that clock to close out a game. So I guess it's the linemen in Wisconsin and Illinois and the diet, I don't know.
Whatever they're feeding them, they should just keep feeding them it because it's working. So after your 2 seasons at South Dakota, you decide it's time to come back home. How did that come about, and why was it the right time for you?
So during my years in South Dakota, I stayed close with all the Whitewater staff, and I made one game when I was gone, which was totally super weird, awkward being in the perk as a fan. But it was, again, time to move on. I'm at South Dakota for 2 years in the same role, not making any money. Not saying that's the deciding factor, but at some point you got to get your head above water. So Coach Leopold on Thanksgiving weekend, they played on Saturday, the Sunday after that, the announcement of him going to Buffalo comes out. So phone blowing up, this, that, maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, Coach Bullis, who was, I think, named the interim at that point, or the succession, or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
And he gave me a call and wanted to hire me back. So obviously the buzz around Lance and Brian and the boys going to Buffalo, there was an opportunity there. So, that's one of those crossroads in life where you got to make a decision. Are you staying on the bottom of the totem pole doing the GA type stuff for another couple years, or do you want to be more of a full-time coach and have to make decisions and have more responsibility? And that was, honestly, Carlo, that was probably the hardest decision I've had to make in my life, was that moment. And I remember it honestly, like yesterday, driving around Vermillion, South Dakota, trying to figure out what the heck to do, talking to, my mom and some other close colleagues and mentors. But for whatever reason, my gut, my inside said, go back to Whitewater, go be a full-time coach. And here I am today.
Well, and so I got to ask you as a defensive mind, we talk to the offensive coaches and there's always the conversation of, at the beginning of the game, it's 10 plays or 15 plays or however, whatever the script may be. When you were as a defensive coordinator, was that something you did as well? Did you have like an idea of the plays you wanted to run, or was it more, hey, we're going to go into these couple formations and let's see what they do, and then we'll go from there?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, I think you had your pressures probably prioritized based off of personnel and situation. So there's a little bit of that. You're in your base personnel, but then you have a plan if they maybe go a little bit lighter and more receivers, maybe you get in a sub package earlier on. So there's always a little priority checklist to it. I would say it's probably as specific as some offensive coaches are with that detailed of a 1 through 10 play script, but
yeah,
that was all part of your preparation for sure. So we did a little bit of that. Absolutely.
And then, so when you come back as the full-time linebackers coach, then you move into the role of interim DC, then you're the DC and the assistant head coach. What was the biggest change for you from just being in charge of the linebacker room and then becoming the guy that's in charge of all the rooms pretty much?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate here at Whitewater having great people around here to help me mature, because I think the biggest difference between those early years coming back to Whitewater and then closer to now is just the maturity of dealing with others. And that's really your colleagues on your staff, your coaches, and, just having conversations and removing emotion and getting the ego out of it and understand that this is about us working together and collectively to get this thing done. So that was probably the biggest challenge. As I took on those other couple roles.
Well, and it's the year you become the interim DC, what a year it had to have been, because I don't know at what point did you guys know you were playing football, and then how did the schedule work for you guys for the 2020 season?
Yeah, so we shut her down the whole country, and I think it was March or April, somewhere around there, and eventually spring ball gets shut down and you're like, okay. And you get to summer and nope, no summer camps. You're like, okay, well, nope, no fall. Nope. All right, no games. So we actually, our athletic director, Ryan Callahan, fought like heck. Steve Hilmer was our head of our sports medicine athletic trainer, and he was on a board for the university. And we were able to have 50 practices that spring. So, or not, that fall of 2020.
Yeah.
A, B, we had the team split up, but it was, you're around your guys, you're figuring it out, you're working together to get over this adversity. So it obviously was a challenge and crazy, but that was huge. That was our development and allowing us to grow as a staff and the players to understand the new coaches and their new roles. So we took advantage of that. Then we came to the spring. I think we had 46 practices in the spring. So they're not even they're contact days or something along those lines. I know it was 96 days, I think, is what we ended up getting that calendar year. So again, a blessing in disguise, because if you would have looked at the install plan for the fall of 20, prior to 96 practices, and then post 96 practices, fall install of 2021, it was a lot different, which is where that blessing, we were able to grow. We were able to figure out, nope, get rid of, tighten up, maybe add this. I think that kind of helped propel us to the fall of 2021 and having a pretty good year on defense.
Well, and so let's talk about last year. And then we'll talk about the projection for going into 2023 and how spring went. And we're on the heels now. We're getting ready for camp. But so walk us through the 22 season. So 8-3 overall, 6-1 in the conference. Now, as I was looking at the standings, was there a split for the conference at the top? Yep. Okay.
Yep. UW Lacrosse was the other co-champions.
So walk us through the 2022 season. You make it to another playoff appearance. You get the first round loss to Aurora, 33-28. But just walk us through the season and how it developed.
Yeah, so we lost a couple coaches on our staff, the different programs. So our whole offensive staff was new. Defensive staff was the same. So there was some new familiar faces. So there was just a little bit of an inconsistency piece to it. We started off, played terrible game one, then also we come back and play really good in game two. And then all of a sudden, it's just kind of one of those deals where you're riding a little bit more of that roller coaster and the consistency piece wasn't there. So, round one of the playoffs, we came it down right to the wire at the end and had an open guy and we couldn't quite complete the pass and ended up going to the other team. And that's kind of how that game ended. But, it's what it is. We won conference for the fourth year in a row, which is a heck of a task to do in our challenge in WIAC. So there was a lot of positives that came from the 2022 season. So, but yeah, and then.
Well, and I got to stop you real quick because for 2023, first off, because I have it underlined here, congratulations on becoming the head coach of the Warhawks. And now let's talk about what are we thinking about for 2023?
Ready to go. Coach Bolus had left this program in a tremendous spot. Whether you're talking players, coaches, just the operation piece to it. His imprint that he did for the last 8 years, he put this place in a better spot. So I just feel so honored and blessed and fortunate to be in this role. Coming back to Whitewater in 2015, I was, assistant, but I kind of wanted this. That was the direction we were going. And that was more internally and just my vision. So I started thinking like a head coach back then. And honestly, Carlo, I feel like that gives me a lot of confidence is that, I haven't been on the sidelines in many years or making those fourth down calls or timeout decisions, but, just in terms of operating and running a program and managing players and managing coaches, I feel like I've been preparing for this for a long time. And then, you put on top of that, our leadership on our team from player standpoint is tremendous. I feel really good about that. That gives you a lot of confidence. And then we got a great staff. Our offensive staff was new last year, but they've still been together for a while and they had times at this program before. So there is institutional knowledge there. And I just feel really good about the people that we have in place in this program. So that gives me a lot of confidence as we approach year one.
Now, put us in the room with you and a recruit. What are you looking for? What's the conversation like? What are you talking to your recruits that are coming in? And if there's somebody watching that's thinking about it, what are you looking for in a young football player?
Sure. First and foremost, we're going to make sure we do our due diligence on the vetting process prior to getting to that conversation is because it all starts with character. We want to have people that you can trust. Words match their actions. They care about others. So that's kind of the non-negotiable is that we want good dudes. I don't want guys on this, a part of this team, a part of this program that aren't good people. And that's kind of where we start. And then after that, you're just having a conversation. I'm transparent. I'm honest. When I sit in front of a recruit, I'm not trying to get them to commit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an immature, maybe that's a poor statement, but that's just not how I view it. Because if I get somebody to come to our program because we want them and they don't want to be here, that they're not going to fit. So it's got to be a mutual decision, but more importantly, they have to want to be here.
Yeah.
So I approach it just from a standpoint of, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're about. This is where we're going. This is why we're doing it. If you want to be a part of it, let's go. If this is not for you, totally fine. We got a bunch of people on this team that love football.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to care about it. It's got to be a priority in their life. The next piece would be competitive. You got to have that internal desire to be better. If you want to just show up and go through the motions, it's not going to fit. Like, that's just not a fit with our program. And the last piece would be, the third one would be toughness. And, toughness that we talk about here is all mental. It's between the ears, and it's at the end of the day, can you be the same dude every day?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can you be consistent? We all got good days, bad days. We all have emotions and feelings that challenge us and adversity that comes across our plate. But, we can't let that affect our part of the program. We can't let that affect other people in our program. So we got to be the same dude every day. And those are really the three things that we hit on. And those would be the three things that I would really talk to the recruits about our program and who we are and where we're going.
Now, when we're talking about the Wisconsin, and I want to make sure I get this right, it's the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, correct?
Yep.
What makes it so strong? Because as I was looking back through years, it seems that it's a battle every week. Everybody's schedule up and down. It seems like you guys beat the heck out of each other for 10 weeks.
Without a doubt. I came to this conference in the fall of 2005, and we knew that back then, that the WIC was, if not the best in the country, one of the best. So, and that hasn't changed till this day. So, what are the contributing factors? I think I'd probably start with the public school system. I mean, our conference has been in place for over 100 and some years. So there's some consistency there that probably allows the athletic departments to have some, continuity and understanding of how to run a program. So I think I would start there. Your tuition is probably going to be a little bit lighter than some of those private schools. So your ability to attract student athletes is probably, pretty good.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is, look at the state of Wisconsin. There's one Division I football program. That's the Badgers. So you look at, if I don't get that Power 5 opportunity, well, then I got to go out of state. Are you able to do that, or do you desire to do that? Yeah, some people do, some people don't. Mm-hmm. But that's definitely going to strengthen our conference and allow us to compete at a higher level.
Now, as you talked about, you were a Division III player. You've coached predominantly in Division III. What's the significance of Division III? Because and I'm sure the outliers and the facade that is put around Division III, that it's a glorified intramural league and it's this, that, and it's not. It's really not. But what's the biggest, let's start with what's the significance of Division III?
Yeah, I mean, I think every program has their own approach. Mm-hmm. I look at Whitewater, and that's what I can speak for, is being at Whitewater. My first meeting with our team, I walked in front of the room and I told the team, fellas, we are all volunteers here. There are no hostages. And all I wanted to get across is, guys, it's your choice to be here. And if you choose to be a part of this and you choose to be here, you're choosing to do things a certain way. Right? Football is the greatest team sport on earth. You can't win unless you're all together. Everybody buys into the same principles, values, standards. So I don't know if you can do that at a scholarship school. I don't know if you can say that at some of the other institutions. Okay. And then the other piece that I probably love the most is, you got to love it, right? Yeah. You got to love it. You're paying for your school. You got to go to class and earn that degree, and that's priority number one. And then football comes after that. But it's your choice to be here. You're truly a volunteer if you're in this program. And we're going to do and utilize all our resources that we can to help you. And we're going to try to make this program first class and the best that it can be. But the reality is, it is a Division III program. We got to fundraise our tails off, and it probably operates on a lot of levels as a high school program from a monetary standpoint. But yeah, from a competitive and a atmosphere and a level of play, I think it's probably a little bit higher than a Division III school.
So my last question before we get into the randoms, there's 5 of them that are they're out there. What is your message going into 2023 for the alumni and the fans of the Warhawks as we really I don't even know what the countdown is, but I think we got to be getting close to under 50 days for camps reporting and such. So
yeah, my message, just, we're going to attack this thing one day at a time. And I know that's cliche, and I don't know how sexy that is, or if that's what somebody wants to hear, but we got a really challenging schedule. Well, you take it one day at a time, you take it one game at a time. It is what it is. Let's go to work. That's my message. I think you're going to see this team care about each other. I think you're going to see this team play with some confidence. I think we're going to be a very disciplined team. And then you're probably going to play with a little bit of an edge. And that's how we practice. That's how we handle our business in the meetings. It's how we go about it. And I don't know if there's a word that I'm missing that I should be saying for all the alumni and the fan base, but we're going to go at it one day at a time and just try to get better but attack it, right? We're always moving forward. We're trying to go. We're not just trying to be at practice. No. There's intent. There's purpose. Let's work to get better, and let's try to work to dominate and try to be the best that we can be. And then let's see what happens. I have a lot of faith in our staff and our players. I've been around this program for a while. I think I have great perspective on what it takes to succeed at this level. And again, I'm going to go in. We're going to go in every game thinking we can win. Yeah. We're not going to focus on the result. We're going to focus on how we need to win and how we can win. But one day at a time, go attack this thing.
All right, Coach. Now we're at the point where the randoms. So if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I can't say Wisconsin.
You could say Wisconsin if you'd like.
I'm a 4 seasons guy. I love winter, I love spring, I love summer, and I love fall. If I would ever live anywhere else, I would always have a place in Wisconsin to come back to for especially the winter and the summer months.
All right. What's the most important lesson that you've learned over your career?
It's better to be prepared without an opportunity than unprepared with an opportunity.
I like that. Care to elaborate?
So when I was in South Dakota, a coach mentioned that to me. His actual name was Marquise Williams. He's coaching with the Atlanta Falcons right now as a special teams coordinator. And he just mentioned that, and it really resonated and hit home. And that's how I mentioned when I came back in 2015, I started thinking like a head coach. And again, I think that's what prepared me for that interview process. That's what prepared me for that first meeting with the team. And time will tell, but we'll see. I like to think I feel pretty prepared for going at it this thing for year one.
If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
I would be a high school phy-ed teacher, or I would be, if I can't do that, I'd work on a farm or work on a golf course, something outdoors, something labor, something working.
What is your coaching philosophy?
Lead, teach, inspire.
I like that. Would you like to elaborate on those? I think those are pretty. They're concise.
Hey, that's me. I'm clear, clean, concise, direct. That's the teaching philosophy with it. So you got to be a leader first and foremost. Be the example. Be the standard. If you want people to be early or on time, well, you better be early on time. So I think, my coaching philosophy, it starts with you're the leader, right? You have to. Leadership's not really about you. Leadership's about others. So that's you got to get others to do things a certain way. And then the teach part is, you need to get others to do things a certain way. So you better invest, support your players, build a relationship with them, connect with them, be competent so that they are learning and getting better. And then that will help the trust. But that's the teacher. You're always teaching. And the last thing is just inspire. You got to get people to do things when they don't want to do it. And I'm a believer that we aren't going to make our players do anything. We need to inspire them to choose to do things a certain way.
Yeah.
That is a hard task. And that
you don't say.
That's culture. That's everything. We got to get your teammates to be leaning that way and helping you. And it takes a village, all hands on deck. But, at the end of the day, that's your role as a coach is you got to get people to be consistent and do it day in and day out. And you better be able to inspire them to choose to do that.
I like that. Best compliment you've ever received?
People call me Buzz from Home Alone. I'll take that as a compliment. That is not. I don't know. That's a tough question, Carlo.
Well, the next side of compliment is what's the best insult you've ever received? So.
There. I answered it in one question.
And the last question, Coach, was there a question you were expecting me to ask you? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? Michael Jordan.
That's right. As long as we're on the same page, we can end on a good note right there. Coach, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with us. For those of you sticking around, we are heading over to overtime with Serenity Brown. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. No, that's everything. So we'll be right back. And this has been Coach Rindahl of the Wisconsin Whitewater Warhawks, and we'll be right back, Chuckleheads. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Serenity Brown, and we're here at overtime with Serenity Brown. We just finished up with Coach Rindahl and Warhawk Nation from the University of Wisconsin Whitewater.
Sounds hardcore, just some
Warhawk
Nation. Sounds hardcore.
Ended the 2022 season as the number 15th ranked team. Since this recording, the preseason rankings have come out. They are now the number 11 team in the country heading into the first game of the year. I can promise you in our 10 games that we're picking, their game will be in there. But go ahead. Let's talk about in comparison to a couple other episodes. I think it was quick to the point, but I don't think it ran very long. But I think he had a lot of detail.
I edited this a few days ago because we had some stuff going on that we had to take care of, so I don't remember the exact play time in my brain, but I think it was one of the
You can tell the truth. We recorded this already, and the phone decided to tell us no.
That is true.
That's what happened. What happened. We recorded this.
We did record this already. And
the other big thing, and I told this story on the last recording. For me, this was a big get. DB can. I'm not going to use the word I screwed up the last time. DB can speak on this when we talked about going into the D3 coaches. Whitewater's name being that they've made 18 playoff appearances with their 6 titles and the 51-9 record and the 38 Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference titles. They've been the team. North Central's now kind of made its way up into there. Mount Union's still up there.
But the point was...
Well, in next week's guest...
He said that if this isn't one of the teams you interview, what's the point?
And
the point was...
The leads into what the point is, which is, we've talked to this season, I believe, when it's all said and done, it'll be about 7 or 8 ranked teams, a couple others that are just outside of the rankings. For the 2023 season, and the rest of them they're all that's what they're fighting for, is to get into the playoff and to get to
speaking to
bowl
those
games
coaches is still cool. Like
and everybody, they all have the same kind of how did we get here, but they all have their own unique story. And so for me, this was definitely like it's a check mark off, but it also reinforced as I was sitting there like, wow, we're talking to Wisconsin Whitewater. That we've talked to a lot of great coaches throughout this season, and I hope when we restart next season,
I hope that they can see your face
with this bucket hat on.
Yeah.
Why? It's better because I have this little, I have a blemish going on. I'm trying to protect them from seeing.
You had an
this
allergic reaction.
I did in fact.
Blemish.
So that being said, this last couple of weeks has been a string of ranked teams for those of you that have noticed. And it will continue that way throughout August going into the first week of the season. Now, if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcast, we really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that bell so that you don't ever miss an episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out, and we appreciate you being here. And make sure you follow us on all the social medias. It's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. X. Sorry, it's X now.
I changed it.
X. It's not Twitter. So when I keep telling you guys to go to Twitter, that's probably you can't find it because it's now X. They're all the same except for the Instagram account, which is dingo_talk. And since we're getting ready to go on vacation here, this episode comes out on Thursday. We'll be leaving Saturday morning. I figured we'll talk about just a couple things that you do on vacation. And it's been a long time. Last time I was on vacation, an actual vacation, I was a senior in high school. So, yeah, broke people problems. But so
I go with my parents.
Yeah.
Every year.
That's my point. I don't have
Once a year.
Sal and Lisa go on vacation
There
every
was
year.
one year I missed it. I was so upset I had to work.
Sal and Lisa used to go on vacation every year to Ocean City.
Well.
My invitation got lost in the mail. It was hard to find me for about 11 years because I moved from one end of this town to the middle of the town. No, I would assume fishing, beach.
So our family usually, obviously, we go to the beach.
Yeah, I hope so.
Duh. We usually do one day where we go to mini golf.
Mm-hmm.
We do one day.
You gotta be careful. I know the hand is a little heavy now, but you can't be just smacking on the table there. My
One
ADHD
day,
kicks in.
Where we go, because we go to the same place every time, it's called Fantasy Island. It's like outside is more like a carnival ride, stuff like that. Inside's like a big arcade.
Mm-hmm.
So we do one day of that. Usually we go out on the party boat and go fishing. We didn't do it last year, but we're gonna bring it back this year. Super excited for that. So,
And it's so what's wild to me is you love the beach but hate seafood.
Yeah, I hate it.
Like absolutely hate it.
No.
There's not a type of seafood that you
No.
like. Tuna, if it's made right.
If it's made right.
Okay. Wow. But I do have some exciting news. The couple housekeeping things. Not this next episode, but the following episode will be the first week that we're doing the picks. So keep an eye out for that. We are finally making our way to Minnesota. I've been teasing it for a couple weeks now. We're making our way to Minnesota, and then we'll be up there. I believe it's Central PA is how we're finishing out the month, and that is because the coach we started with, Coach Lem, it's Bridgewater's opponent for the opening game of the season. So I figured it was a good little roll-in. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, Chuckleheads, stop back next week. We won't be here. We'll be on vacation, but the episode will be. So make sure you check it out. And, don't be strangers.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @Dingo Talk.